Thank you for taking the time, Melissa. How did you wind up in the Old Forester camp?
Well, thank you for having me. Really excited to be here. I ended up at Old Forester partially because I was already a fan. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and it's very much a hometown hero brand for us here. But I started in the bourbon industry really just off of a passion point. Started as a tour guide and kind of learned as much as I could, stayed curious along the way, and eventually found my way here.
The video that I just saw of that wonderful facility, I had the pleasure of visiting that while it was being built. I hope to eventually get there. Fingers crossed. But Old Forester always has interesting stunts going on. A couple of years ago, there was the Kingsman movie. There's always the birthday bourbon. Can you tell me what's coming up at the moment? What's coming up in 2025 for Old Forester?
Great question. I can't tell you everything we've got coming down the pipeline. That's part of the fun. But I will tell you this year, 2024, we released a new addition to our Whiskey Row series, which we're going to be talking about today with the 1920. We kind of added on to that chronology with an expression called 1924. It's a limited annual release. Folks who maybe got their hands on it earlier this year can expect another drop in the near future. So we're excited to celebrate 2025 New Year's with some new and delicious liquid.
Wow. So when you say 1920, am I right to assume that this is the kind of thing that's been in development for a lot of years?
So the 1920 name kind of calls back to our presence during Prohibition. So the names of our Whiskey Row series are really inspired by stories in our history, and we've kind of used them to bring to life modern day craft expressions of Old Forester bourbon. So we're not necessarily creating maybe what we would have been making in 1920. In fact, we weren't distilling it all in 1920 because of the Prohibition laws. But we've crafted this to kind of pay homage to the medicinal style of bourbon that was being sold during Prohibition by Old Forester. So that comes down to that higher proof point, 115 proof, and a little bit of the flavor profile that we've kind of encompassed in this bottle. The other expressions with other years from our history, they kind of bring to life different flavor profiles based on the stories that they call back to.
Wow. Well, looking around you right now, very festive environment that you're in right now, and it is the holiday season. So when it comes to Old Forester, do you have a way of explaining how we can employ Old Forester into a great low-key holiday setting?
Absolutely. So Old Forester, the thing I love about it is we have this huge portfolio and it really does have something for everybody. So whether you're looking at our Whiskey Row series, which is 5 different, like I said, unique craft expressions, you can find a whiskey for every different type of drinker. One whiskey drinker might also like every single expression for different reasons. So it's kind of
Sure.
fun to get a couple of our expressions and do a little tasting at home. Or you can use these in a cocktail, and that flavor profile is going to work really well with lots of different cocktails that are really easy to execute at home as well. So hosting folks for the holidays made easier by Old Forester.
Also, judging by the environment, does that mean there's a recipe that you can show quickly?
Yes, absolutely. So this is a gingerbread old fashioned, and it utilizes a gingerbread syrup and a molasses syrup rather than your traditional simple syrup. This is going to be actually a combination of those two things. So if you're making it at home, you're going to use a 1/4 ounce of each, or I
Mhm.
just combine them together and use the 1/2 ounce. And then the bourbon I'm using is that 1920 because I think the proof point really complements this cocktail well. But the nice thing is you can sub any Old Forester expression for this cocktail and it'll work. And then last but certainly not least, we've got these cinnamon bitters that we as a brand put out on our website. And you can actually order those to be delivered to your home, make it really, really easy on you. So that gingerbread, that molasses, and that cinnamon is going to be really nice holiday flavors to give us this kind of riff off of a classic old fashioned. We're just going to stir together and then we're going to serve this in a rocks glass with a large ice cube. And that is going to give us that nice chill and dilution that we're looking for. And of course, for me, I love a cute garnish. So we're going to take our little gingerbread person here, throw them on the top, and add a dehydrated orange. So as long as you're sipping responsibly, that is going to be a great cocktail for your folks for the holidays.
Well, two quick questions and then I'll let you go. And they're about you and the greatness of you for the most part. Are you ready for them, Melissa? And then we'll let you go.
Absolutely.
Okay, first one is the job that you have. Very, a lot of people are very envious of it. It's very skill oriented in being a master taster. How do you keep your taste buds up to par so that they never dull out and that you can feel and taste those intricacies?
That is a great question, and especially important when you're sipping whiskey neat or without any mixers or ice or dilution. And for me, it's all about pacing myself and then staying hydrated. I'll start with staying hydrated because drinking water is the most important thing when it comes to both enjoying cocktails and tasting whiskey. You
Sure.
want to keep your palate nice and fresh. And then the other thing is just pacing myself, like I said. So if I have maybe four different expressions to write tasting notes or appraise, I'm maybe going to sit down with one, answer some emails, come back to the next one. Because when you kind of overload your palate, you start to lose that nuance. So I think taking your time, drinking water, and maybe third, having like a nice bland or salty snack like pretzels or an oyster cracker is going to be nice for neutralizing your taste buds, kind of getting you ready for that next sip.
The last question I have, because I've been corrected so many times, what is the correct way to say the city that Old Forester is based in?
So I grew up here. I am a local at heart. So I pronounce it Louisville. Out of towners might say Louisville with a different pronunciation. I would say figure out how you want to say it. There's no right or wrong answer. Everyone is welcome, whether you say it Louisville or Louisville.
Now I know. Thank you for your time and really looking forward to what's to come from Old Forester in the near future.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Paltrocast.